Are you on a road trip this summer? On vacation? Are you going out west? Well, this is the perfect tutorial for you. I go over this step by step how to create this lovely little tutorial. I give you the reference photo that I found on Unsplash of this cute camper going out, and we're just doing some ink and wash. And you see my stuff is not drawn perfectly, but you understand what it is, and it's kind of cute and fun. Really suggest trying to do this yourself, and you just kind of squint your eye where all the darks and lights are, and I show you the layering technique that I use to create this kind of rustic western colored rocks and the tumbleweeds over here. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. But without further ado, let's get started. So you have the photograph that I linked in my description here. I've kind of penciled it in already, but I use a Sharpie ultra fine point permanent marker to do my ink for my ink and wash. Sometimes I'll use a fountain pen, and I'll use Noodler's ink because that's water-based ink that won't bleed when you use it. We don't want to use an ink pen that's going to bleed. You want something permanent. So like I said, I will sketch in, and then I'll go back in, and I'll go around all my little guys here. The little lines. It's kind of fun to find something that has a lot of lines in it, you know, and you can go full tilt with all this or just do most of it or some of it with the lines. It's kind of fun seeing where you're going to go with this little camper van here. And it doesn't have to look perfect. You get the teeny little mirror right there. Got some lines. I got this lovely back lights, and then we have a little detail around by this license plate. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Don't even worry about getting all the names and numbers and all that stuff in. So now I'm just going ahead and drawing in the wheels. A little camper here. These little tires are like hard to see here. There's a stripe happening here, and this kind of line goes down here. Like I said, you don't have to draw all the little lines, but it's kind of fun to play with what you got going here. As far as like the landmass, again, I'm just going to kind of rough in, you know, the street here, this road. You see it kind of going here. And you really don't see the stripes except right here coming out. Right, and then we have this wonderful little landscape that's out in the desert here. And I will do some like sharp lines like this, and then some kind of wiggly dashy ones to indicate the rocks. It's kind of fun to do ink and wash. And see, I'm just kind of outlining all those little rocks here. You're not going to fit everything in. This is, by the way, I'm using a, I didn't mention this, I'm sorry. Fabriano's, this is a 5x7 100% cotton cold press block. I like the cold press because of the fact that when we go to paint it, it will have a nice, the paint will absorb nicely. So this whole rock is very, very dark. You don't see too much, but you can kind of faintly see where some of the lines are that are kind of going down here, and you can kind of put some of those in, but it's going to be fairly dark. Just kind of wiggle some lines in here. You know that it's a rock. You can't really see all those divots that you can see in the other ones, right? And then there's like a little line out here. As far as these like tumbleweed type bushes, this is how I would draw them with the ink. I kind of just kind of like go like this and just kind of wiggle the brush. Oh, excuse me, the brush. The pen. Brush is on my mind, and just kind of wiggle out here. And as far as like this area, again, just kind of wiggling little dash lines to indicate texture. You can kind of go like this for these tumbleweeds type plants. You don't have to show a lot of ink. You can show a little bit of ink. There's like some kind of pole there, I don't know. And then as far as this one goes, to me there's like these little lines coming here. Again, You can show as much as you want with this ink pen. And go fast. You don't have to study everything to a T. There's a lot of lines happening. There's this one line coming down here, and we've got this one here. Lots of stuff. So take your time studying all the little divots you see. And don't get freaked out if you don't get everything perfect on here. Again, it's just a fun little study on like a postcard for, you know, say you were traveling out in the desert somewhere and you're like, hey, I was here. And also it gives me a chance to play with a couple of paints, a new color that I've gotten, which is this one from Daniel Smith. I usually use holbein for everything, but every now and then I buy another color from somebody else. I'm not fond of Winsor Newton. I tried this Daniel Smith. It's more of an orange. It's called quinchradone Sienna. So it's more of an orangey sienna instead of burnt sienna. It's a little more brown. And I was playing around with that, and it's very, very orange. And these rocks are pretty much red. See, I'm going to just do some dashed lines for this area. Wiggle lines. And then we have those little bushes here. So I wanted it more red. I added some rose or like a pinky red color to it. And look, there's our little camper dude. The little squiggling the lines here for the lovely curtain that's happening there. Okay, so once you have all that, we'll talk about just putting in the paint. Drawing the bus, the beetle bus. It's kind of fun. Put the back, maybe take a picture of the back of your car if you were traveling out west and you don't really take a picture, you forgot, or you took a picture, but if you didn't take a picture, whatever, it's no big deal. Just going to show you the colors to use for this. All right, so I've drawn in my design and we'll get ready to paint. All right, it's always good to just test paints too. So I have this, like I said, quinchradone Sienna color. See how it's orange, really bright orange. And I'm like, And then I have this burnt sienna. See the difference between the two? One's a little more brown. I'm using a Princeton 10 round Velvet Touch Series brush. So what I did was I added just some rose to the color of the orange quinchradone sienna. It's a little bit more red. I can add a touch of ultramarine blue deep to get that kind of lovely red color. Now the sky, we can put in the sky and not put in the sky. I'm going to use ultramarine blue deep. And, you know, it's such a small area, you can just do wet on dry. I'm just going to go like this. Although the color that they have there is more of a cerulean blue. If I mix some turquoise, let's see what we get. Play with your blues. You don't have to use ultramarine blue. You can use a cerulean blue, a cobalt. I feel like my blue is a little too dull. This is a nice cerulean blue. Even like a turquoise, kind of pretty. So I've mixed some blues up now. Just to change it up a bit. Leaving some white space for the clouds. But again, it's such a small surface area, I wouldn't freak out about it too much. Just gonna go like that. Voila. So we have that blue there. You can play around with this ground area. So you can still see a lot of this red coming in all over here. This is like the one big wash, right? So when you're looking at something like this, even though there's shadows in here, it still has these colors in it. And you can see the colors coming through here, and then there's brown on top. There's a little bit of here. So we're going to mix up this color first, right? Put in this whole big wash. And then even on this side. And then we can wash in some grays there. Like right now we can just take ultramarine blue deep and even mix that with these lovely orangey color. Look at that, it's like a purple color almost. You know why that is? Because I had put bright rose in there. If I just took ultramarine blue right here and that quinchradone sienna, we'd have browns and grays, see? This is ultramarine blue deep. We get a nice pretty gray happening. And as you add more blue, bluish gray, as you add more sienna, more in the browns. It's a really light wash of gray on this right here. Going out here. I chose this brush in particular because I have control. It's a small, tiny area, and it works. That's the road. You could even play with adding that a little bit in here. But that road ends up being really kind of more browns and reds in here. So if I added some of this sienna, really kind of light, dry brush, get that color in there. It's a little bit different than the gray we see. And I'll remove some of this gray. So this sienna color, like I said, very orangey. I don't want orange. And if I add some rose to it, let's get that red color. And I'll add a little blue. And you can see more of that red brown tone. And I'll water this down a lot. Look at all that water. Now obviously that's too much water, so I'll tap it on my paper towel and then I can kind of play with putting it in here. And you see that on the side of the road. And we can start to play with that, putting this whole wash in. Make sure you have enough paint though. So I'm going to grab more, the rose, and then this paint. You can even grab the regular sienna and see how it looks. Again, have scrap close by to see if, okay, it's not red enough. Could add some more rose. Now it looks like it's too pink. See? Can add some burnt sienna in there. Kind of keep going back and forth till you get that color that you're looking for. Maybe a touch of ultramarine blue deep. Tone it down. And I think I'm happy with that color. So now I'm going to water that down. Really kind of loose. Really loose. It's looking a little too pink, so I add a little bit more sienna in there. Gonna put that whole color in. All those areas. Even up in here. Now you can water it down so it's lighter in those very sunny areas, and then I'm going to go over it with some dark. It's all over this. Right down here. This Arizona rock. Now remember I said it should go out in here too because there's some orangey kind of color tones happening in here. So I'm just going to wet this and get it all in here. Except where these tumbleweeds are. Get a light wash of that color happening all in here too. See? Get that whole first wash in there. We're going to get darker still, but right now we're just going to put that first wash. And that's like the main area. The mid-tone is your big shape, and that's the big shape. While that's drying, we can concentrate on the little bug bus. It's more in the yellow family, so I'm going to remove some of this paint. I have a cadmium yellow deep. And it's obviously super bright. I can mix it with some burnt umber. And again, it's always good to have like a little scrap close by, see if that looks good. because it's like a yellowish orange color. I'm just going to put that in real quick. Everywhere but the license plate and the white trim. I'm still using this 10 round. It's even in here actually. I'm going to go right in here. Just fill all that in that you need to, that's yellow. If we have those yellow lines here from the road, put that in. Well, we have that yellow ready to go. Let's grab some ultramarine blue deep, mix that in there. Oh, it's made it gray. Can add some Prussian blue. We're trying to make the tumbleweed color, right? So normally I would just say, take the yellow, cadmium yellow deep, to clean off my brush, and ultramarine blue deep. And you never see me really say to use those two colors for greens because they come out like this muted green. But this time it's perfect. You can even add, if it's still too muted, this looks a little too olivey, you want to brighten it up, grab a little peacock blue, and that's going to always brighten it. See, that's bright. Go back and add the yellow, and maybe a little bit ultramarine blue deep again. You want a bluish, sagey kind of green. So again, it's always good to have a scrap close by, and that's the perfect color green. I'm just going to fill this in. These little tumbleweeds. Leaving a little white from my paper there. Same thing over here. There's not that much green going on. There's some over here. You want to fill this in. Some little lines with some tumbleweeds. It's still very damp, but I'll put it in anyway. And get those little tumbleweeds. This is a little bit damp, but let me tell you, we're going to be making some browns there. So I'll take some burnt umber, a little bit of ultramarine blue deep. And it changes that brown color. Now this isn't moving much. We don't have much water to it. We're going to add some more water to it. I always tap on my paper towel. And we're going to kind of do like a dashing kind of like this. Tapping. So you're still seeing some of that rust color red coming through. Now it's bleeding because it's still very wet. If you want to get the paint a little bit thicker, so going back and adding the blue and the brown. And just kind of tapping, going in a line, like you see there. And it looks a little more deeper brown, so I might go in and add some Payne's Gray and then lightly touch that. There we go. Now you could also go like this, dry brush, like this. Those little lines, so doing these little tappy taps. They go a lot faster. Just like that. Showing a little bit of that ground coming through. Just, see? Pretty quick. And same thing over here. You see a little bit of this. Just do some dry brushing, kind of coming out here. Just like that. All the good stuff. So now I'm going to get deeper. I added some burnt sienna, some ultramarine blue deep, and a little bit of this bright rose to get this red deeper color. See, we're going to have more layering. And you can squint your eye, you can see where it's darker in some of these areas. Right? It's a lot darker. We'll get even more darker still. Some of these have like these fun facades. This is much darker. This whole section right here. You can even know these guys right here. A little bit lighter up and top. This whole area is darker. You want that deep shaded red. Now it's still not dark enough, actually. I'm going to add a shadow with ultramarine blue deep and burnt sienna. But right now I'm just sticking the deeper red color in some of these areas. As you see in here, little dashes kind of happening. Squint your eye and see all the places that are darker. Little nuance kind of shadowing happening in here. Definitely deeper right in here. Do some little lines going across. And we've got lots of things at play over here. And it's not going to be perfect, and I don't expect it to be. Like this one here, and up in here. See? You can see how the shadows are happening. You can water it down even more. So we have, you know, it's darker in value, but it's not super dark. It's in between the two. Because some of these areas are darker, but not very dark like this one will be. And we'll add some grays in that one. Just giving more shape to the rocks. Like up in here. All that good stuff. You just have to squint your eye to see the place, where to place all those. And don't freak out if you don't get every single thing perfectly like you see in the photograph. I want to stress that you don't need to do that. So I've run out of paint again. Burnt sienna, some rose, and ultramarine blue deep. Just tapping that even darker still. Some of these areas get even darker. And we'll put the shadows in a second with ultramarine blue deep and burnt sienna. I'm just getting in some more red colors. Just like you see here, all these little like divots in the rock. Just fill that in. Put a few of this red tone kind of peeking through some of the grasses in here and here. And I would dry brush a little bit of the red right here on the side of the road, like you saw. That's a little too dark, but it will work. And some brown that we have here left over from this. Just put a little bit of that, you see, kind of road dry brush. We got to get some dry brushing of the gray in there too. Now, if yours, see this kind of dissipated, and this is burnt umber, Payne's gray, burnt umber, Payne's gray. Just gonna go back in and add a little bit of the dark, little brown areas. Okay, now we'll get a little detail. We'll add a little bit of more gray. So ultramarine blue deep and burnt sienna again, make that gray. It's very watery, so you really kind of just have to tap off all the excess paint here. If you want to make that road have some texture. See, just hold your brush on its side. And now you've got some nice texture, just a little bit deeper color and value. And the same thing with those two colors. And a little bit more burnt sienna. For the tires and the gray shadow. So, again, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue deep. You see the shadow going across the road there. Right into the tires. Right? And there's like a little line here. Perfect. Add a little, this is just small details now. The same paint, Just water down a little bit into the window, right? And a little on this where the license plate is. I'm gonna add a little under here and a little bit on the white. It's just gonna enhance and make it a little more detailed oriented. And I'll go and add some of the red. I'll use cadmium red light or a little bit of red for the little tail lights. Really simple. And then some gray on the window here. And it gets a little deeper gray up this way. So I'm using that same gray. We can start to go over these little divots on the mountain here, right over our red. Again, it's going to enhance it even more, like even up in here. See how much darker that gets? Just with the gray over it. You have to wait till it dries though. And we're going to take a whole bunch of this and put this on our really deepest, darkest areas of these mountains or rock formations. Sorry. There is a little light coming through on this one. I'll have to fix that in a minute. And go over these. Except that light sunny area here. And a few light areas coming through. I would suggest waiting till that red dries. And you can go over all these little areas that are much deeper and darker. Again, with this lovely gray. Squint your eye and see where all those shadows are. See? A few kind of happening here. And then we have some deep ones up in here. Down here as well. These rock formations. And here. All those little areas that you see that are much darker. The sun's hitting those, but they hit the shadows. You see? And then the last thing we'll do is I'll just enhance the green tumbleweed things. So maybe get the same color, ultramarine blue deep, cadmium yellow deep, a little bit more cadmium yellow. Mix these colors and just get a little darker on this left side. And I would probably use an 8 long round or a skinny brush or even just a liner brush here. I have a Princeton Umbria. Get the lovely little grasses, these tumbleweeds, pull them out. Little liner brush. I mean, these are just little details that are kind of sweet. And then for the shadow right here on the tumbleweeds, again, take that gray that you have mixed up, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and you do a few grays coming from the tumbleweeds. See here? And got a little bit of gray happening on the side of the road. There's like a little line that goes across, little details that just make up this thing. Looks so much more inviting and enhanced. I'll add a little bit of brown back here. Right? You can get in here. Get a little deeper in some areas, add a little bit of red, but pretty much that's it. Like I said, use the blue. I want to make the window a little bit deeper. So you know it's a window. And you could even add a little bit of this gray on this side of the yellow bus. A little bit here. So now that's the back of the bus, right? Or you get a little bit of orange. That quinchradone Sienna, water it down a little bit. Give it this little orange tinge to it on the back side. So it's differentiating itself from this side. It's a little bit deeper. And then we have a little bus going through the desert. Isn't that cute? It's a little bit of blue on the back of the license plate. I mean, these are such details. I'll put a little ultramarine blue deep on the license plate. And maybe a little bit of this on the side of the blue, the bus. Super tiny details, kind of cute. I have my little greens here, tumbleweeds. Like I said, you can get a little bit deeper on that left side of the tumbleweed. Add some grasses that you see kind of happening here. Super detailed, but really cute, kind of traveling. Out west card, Arizona. I don't know exactly where this was, but you look at the link and you can figure it out. I'll add a little bit of grays and browns mixed together for my palette and kind of go out here a little bit. You want this a little bit darker so the sun differentiates itself from that front ground. And there we go, our cute little on the road again postcard. Super cute. You just break it down. Like if you see these kind of rock formations, I always say do the first wash, then add another layer of like a deeper, that same wash that was watered down, not watered down as much. And then you can go in and add in the grays on top to get even deeper or darker. And you can just go back in again a little bit. You want to make it less so sunshiny, add a little bit more color. You can go ahead and do that too. See how I added that little bit of color? So it's not so enhanced, but you get what I'm saying. So I hope you enjoyed this little postcard from the West. If you have any questions, leave in the comment section. Try doing things with ink and wash. You know, I actually did pencil first and did the ink. You can go full on ink first. I know people get crazy that then draw a perfect little bus or perfect tumbleweeds, but I think it's more fun if you can just try it. And then just doing texture with just holding your brush on the side. And this paper really lends itself to texture. You see these little marks or sparks on the road. I mean, me, I would kind of just go like that a little bit with the dirt. Oops. And you can see the little texture. And there we go, on the road. So thank you guys for stopping by my channel. If you enjoy my content, go check out my Patreon. You can join and cancel anytime. I have a really extensive, really deep tutorials on there. Not deep, excuse me. More advanced tutorials and beginner tutorials, but they come with reference photos from places that I've been, and traceables. You get first dibs and watercolor workshops and retreats, all that good stuff, plus the Facebook group. Things that you can't get on YouTube. So thank you so much for stopping by. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.